When Dagon came back from the water, Mara was awake. She had the child against her shoulder and a stone in her free hand. Then she saw him. The stone lowered, not dropped. Mara did not drop useful things just because a man had frightened her. "You are wet," she said. Dagon looked down as if this had only now become his business. His robe clung to his chest. Water ran from his hair into his eyes. His sandals were dark with mud. There was a reed caught against his calf, and one side of his face had lake silt on it, which was not the worst he had ever looked, but possibly the strangest. "Yes," he said. "That is your explanation." He opened his mouth. Nothing came. Dagon had always been able to find words when words were useless. Now the words crowded the door and refused to pass through it. Mara saw that. Her face changed. The stone went into her lap. Dagon. He walked to her slowly. Not because he feared her, because the ground felt newly made and he did not trust himself to cross it quickly. The child stared at him with wide, dark eyes, offended by water as a concept. Dagon crouched in front of them. His knees trembled when they bent. Mara noticed and said nothing, which was mercy of the most difficult kind. "I saw him," Dagon said. Mara's hand tightened on the child, not fear first, hope worse to witness. Hope rose in her face and scared her before it could become joy. "Who?" she asked. She knew why she asked. Dagon swallowed. His throat hurt. His whole body hurt in a clean way now, as if pain had been washed and given back to him without poison. "Jesus." The child made a small sound. Mara closed her eyes. For a moment she looked as if someone had struck her gently enough to call it blessing and hard enough to leave the mark forever. "Alive," she whispered. Dagon laughed once. This time it came out right and broke anyway. "I do not know the correct word." Mara opened her eyes. "Alive is a correct word. Not enough. Start there." He nodded. "Alive." The word stood badly at first, like a man pulled from sleep and told to carry a kingdom. It did not solve the cross. It stood among the bad things and refused to bow. Dagon pressed his wet hands together because otherwise they might shake apart. "He baptized me," he said. Mara looked at the water running from his sleeves, then at his face, then at the child, her mouth bent with something too deep for a smile and too wounded for laughter. "Of course he waited until I slept. I did not arrange it. No, you would have made it less orderly. There was nothing orderly about it. That sounds like him." They both stopped. That sounds like him. The sentence was a door. Dagon could not walk through it yet. Mara reached out and touched his cheek with the back of her fingers, not to wipe away the mud. She left the mud where it was. Her fingers rested there, measuring warmth, breath, change. "Tell me all of it," she said. "I cannot." "Then tell me badly." That he could do, so he did. He told her about the water and the reflection, about saying what he should not have said, about the hand that caught him before he let himself fall. He did not describe Jesus' face well. That angered him. Faces were simple things. "He looked like himself," Dagon said finally, helpless. Mara nodded as if that were better than poetry. "Good, good. If you had come back speaking like a priest in a fever, I would have worried. I can still try. Please do not." The child sneezed. Dagon nearly wept again. Mara watched him with a tenderness that made no demand to be repaid. "What did he say of Mary?" she asked. The question struck the joy and made it ring differently. "I did not ask." Dagon. Shame came fast, but it did not bite as deeply as before. That was new too. "I should have. You were being baptized by a dead man who was not dead. That is generous. It is accurate." He sat back on his heels. He said others were already carrying news. He said I was not the first to receive mercy today. Mara's face changed again. "Mary, maybe. Mary." This time it was not a guess. It was a woman finding the shape of another woman's courage in the dark. They heard the feet before the voice. Dagon stood too quickly and nearly fell because rebirth, apparently, did not repair knees. Mara shifted the child behind her body with one arm and reached for the stone with the other. A figure came along the bank road, not running exactly because exhaustion had made an agreement with urgency, but moving in that forward falling way of someone who had passed beyond dignity. Dust rose around her sandals. Her veil had slipped. One side of her hair had escaped. She carried nothing, no oil, no cloth, nothing for the dead. Mary saw them and stopped. For one heartbeat, the three of them belonged to separate worlds. Dagon, wet and newly baptized beside the water. Mara, child against her, stone in hand, hope held like flame in wind. Mary, empty-handed, face ruined by joy. Then Mary laughed. Mara stood. The child protested. No one listened. Mary came the last few steps and fell against her. She simply collided and held on. Mara held her with one arm and the child between them, and for a moment all three bodies shook with Mary's laughter. It was not pretty. It sounded like crying wearing the wrong garment. I saw him, Mary said into Mara's shoulder. Mara closed her eyes. Dagon did not speak. I saw him, Mary said again, louder, as if the air had failed to understand. Mara, I saw him. I know, Mara whispered. Mary pulled back. Her face was streaked with dust and tears. There were red places on her wrists where carrying something had marked her earlier. Oil smell clung faintly to her, bitter and sweet, but her hands were empty now. You know. Mara looked at Dagon. Mary looked too. Her eyes found the wet robe, the mud, the altered terror on his face. You also. Dagon wanted to say yes, he wanted to say no. What he said was, he found me by the lake. Mary's face softened. That sounds like him. There was the door again. This time they all stood before it. Mara laughed first, one small sound, astonished, wounded, half-angry, all alive. Then Mary laughed again. Then Dagon did, because refusing would have been rude to the resurrection. The child began crying. Mara sat down at once and shifted the child to feed him. Mary wiped her face with the back of her hand. Dagon found the water skin because men after miracles still needed tasks small enough for their hands. Tell us, Mara said. Mary sat on the ground across from her. Not like a woman delivering news to strangers, like a friend entering the only room large enough to hold what had happened. We went early, Mary said. Her voice shook. She let it. Before the day had properly begun, the city was cold and cruel and ordinary. I hated every door. I carried the oil and thought only of the body, not hope. Do not let anyone make me braver than I was. I went to honor death because death was what I believed we had. Dagon looked down. Mara did not. Mary continued. The stone was moved. The child fed noisily. None of them smiled, not then. There was confusion, running, fear. Men make fear look like planning when they can. I could not leave. I do not know why. No, I do. Love is foolish about staying. I stayed near the place where everything should have been finished. Her hands closed on her knees. And he said my name. That was all. For a while, that was all there needed to be. Dagon had heard Jesus say names before. Joseph, Mara, Simon, children, men with too much pride, women with too much grief. His own name once, spoken as if theft had never been the deepest thing about him. He imagined Mary's name in that voice and understood why she had come empty-handed. There are burdens the living cannot carry after being named by the impossible. What did you do? Mara asked. Mary laughed softly. Badly. Good. I reached for him. Dagon thought of the hand at the water. Mary looked at him, and for a moment he knew she understood without being told. He had work for me, she said. News does not let you keep both arms around it. Mara's face tightened at that, not jealousy, recognition. The things Jesus gave women to carry were never light simply because men called them invisible. Who believed you? Dagon asked. Mary looked at him. He regretted the question before her answer. Mara did, Mary said. Dagon bowed his head. Mara said, I had not heard yet. You heard enough to leave room for me. Friendship, Dagon thought. Not agreeing before the news. Leaving room, Mary drank from the water skin, then passed it back. Her hand trembled now that the running had stopped. Dagon pretended not to see. Mara did not pretend. She reached and covered Mary's hand with her own. Stay, Mara said. Mary shook her head. I cannot, for 1 hour. 1 hour becomes 2, then be blessed twice. Mary smiled, but grief passed through it. They need to hear, men? Yes. Mara made a face Dagon knew well. Mary smiled wider. Unfortunately, they will make it difficult. They already have. Then eat first. Mary opened her mouth to refuse. Dagon had bread in his hand before she could finish the mistake. He did not know when he had taken it out. Maybe his hands were learning. He held it out. Mary looked at the bread, then at him. You are different, she said. Dagon almost answered with a joke. Then he remembered water closing over his head. A little, he said. Mary accepted the bread. Mara watched. The child made a fist in the air, then released it. They ate beside the water while the sun climbed, and the world continued with insulting talent. Reeds moved. Insects stitched light. Somewhere far off, a man shouted at an animal with the authority of someone unaware that death had lost an argument. Mary spoke in pieces, not because she lacked words, because the event was too large to pass through speech without breaking furniture in the mind. Dagon listened. For once, he did not try to own the meaning by naming it quickly. Mary had seen him. Dagon had seen him. Mara had believed both before proof became respectable. The child had eaten through the first morning of the new world. That seemed right. Messy, hungry, badly timed, held together by women with oil, men with wet robes, and bread no one had stolen. After a while, Mary stood. Mara stood with her. They touched foreheads. Dagon looked away because some holiness should not be stared at just because it happens near you. Come back, Mara said. If I can. No. Mary looked at her. Come back. Mary nodded. I will try. That is not the same thing. It is what the road allows. Mara accepted that because she knew roads better than promises. Mary turned to Dagon. For a moment he thought she might give him some command, some charge suitable for wet men who had been found by lakes and did not know what to do with their hands afterward. Instead she said, keep them safe. He looked at Mara and the child. I will. Mary tilted her head. No, better than that. Dagon almost smiled. I will learn. Mary accepted that. Then she left, moving back toward danger with bread in her hand and impossible news in her chest. Dagon watched until the road took her. Mara came beside him. Well, she said, well, I married a baptized man. You married him before? True, poor planning. He looked at her, she looked at him. The laugh that came then was quieter than Mary's, smaller than joy, too tired to be clean. But it was theirs, and it lived. Behind